Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the Marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, receiver for microfinance, savings and loans companies to pay government from proceeds of second round of auction sales. Energy Commission begins engagement to replace used refrigerators and television sets with improved energy-saving ones. Also coming up this afternoon, Ekumfi Fruit and Juice Factory forms strategic partnership with Central Fruit Processing Factory to establish a production hub in the country. We have the details plus many more this afternoon on your Marketplace after the break. Welcome back to the Marketplace. My name is Sandra Esenamapeno. The receiver for defunct microfinance savings and loans companies will be using funds realized from the second auctioning process to pay back government. This is in line with the law establishing the receivership for the financial institutions. According to the spokesperson for the receiver, Philomena Kujo, the funds that were used by the government to pay depositors of the defunct institutions must be refunded. She explains that further in line with an exclusive interview with Joy Business.
The act that sets up the receivership, these financial institutions, the act says that first pay statutory government obligations. So for instance, if the institution owes net, let's say ECG, let's say water bill, etc., etc. Ghana Water Company, sorry. Let's say if the institution owes SNET, ECG, Ghana Water Company, pay all those statutory obligations. Then after that, you pay what we call secured creditors. I think with this one, we don't have any secured creditor in this exercise. Then after that, you pay depositors. So we are going to sell assets to make these payments. In this case, government is using the funding, government gave the funding to pay these depositors. So whatever money we make should go back and pay the government.
Now, the Energy Commission has begun engagement with importers to replace used refrigerators and television sets with improved energy-saving ones. The Energy Commission, actually, I said earlier, has engaged with the importers of refrigerators and television sets, a move that will see the replacement of used refrigerators and television and save the nation some energy. The idea is also to avoid using the country as a dumping ground for non-efficient electronic products. That's more in this report.
According to the Energy Commission, Ghana has reached a stage where it has become necessary to upskill the appliance standards and labeling program, which was introduced about 10 years ago to bring on board improved standards. Among the products to be affected in the first phase includes air conditioners, refrigerators, public lighting, and TV sets. Speaking during a 3-day program, Executive Secretary of the Energy Commission, Engineer Oscar Amonuniza, stressed the need for Ghana to review its prohibition law to include these new measures.
Moving with global technological advancement, the existing standards and regulations for ACs, refrigerators, and lamps are therefore being replaced with new and improved ones, and entirely new standards and regulations are being introduced for more appliances. We are therefore moving up from 5 stars being the most efficient to 7 stars. This is in line with global trends so that low efficient products are not dumped on us. Technology is fast advancing and obsolete products are moving around the globe to find a dumping space. We therefore need to insulate Ghana from becoming a dumping site for global inefficient products.
Director of Energy Efficiency and Climate Change at the Energy Commission, Kofi Ejako, told Joy Business that barring any last-minute challenges, the new reform is expected in Parliament before the end of the year.
They are in close collaboration with the Attorney General's Department. That is the constitutionally the body that serves as the brain behind all these documents. So they are working at it, and we hope that we'll be able to get it to the Parliamentary Subsidiary Legislation Committee to work on it before they finally rise. So I'm hoping that, barring any last-minute hitches, the first set of 5 plus the prohibition law making 6 will go through before the year ends.
The new standards will also mean that the current 5-star label will be upgraded to 7 stars.
Now, hundreds of acres of citrus farms in the Abrasibu-Kwamankesi district of the Central Region are destroyed every year to make way for alternative crops. This is because farmers do not have a ready market for their crops, a situation that is affecting their standard of living. But there seems to be some good news as the Ekumfi Fruit and Juice Factory formed a strategic partnership with the Central Fruit Processing Factory for a new citrus factory to be built to build a complete fruit and juice hub in the country. Richard Kojonyaku has more in the following report.
The Abrasibu-Kwamankesi district is one of the leaders as far as the growing of citrus in the country is concerned. Sadly, there is no ready market for the farmers here. Their fruits get rotten either in the farms or along the shoulders of the road. Eja Kowando has been in the citrus farming business for more than 15 years.
15 years. This I'm doctor degree.
I have a 32-acre organic citrus farm. It's been more than 15 years since I started citrus farming. That's what I used to take care of my son, who is now a doctor. Orange is abundant in this area. The problem we face is marketing. The women who used to buy the citrus from us cheat us. Is it not painful to plant your citrus and no one buys them? His counterparts have similar experiences. These painful experiences they've had over the years are leading many to cut their citrus trees while they try their luck on other crops. We have a lot of oranges in our area. Mine is lemon. I have large acres of lemon farm. Some time ago, Pinalo, a factory promised to buy from us, but they were unable to buy more. They buy just a little and our citrus ends up rotting in the farm. There is another company that used to buy our citrus, but when they buy, they don't pay us. Sometimes it takes 3 years to get our money from them. We have a lot of oranges here, but when they come to buy, they don't even pay. It's even the women amongst them that cheat us. There was a company that came and assured they were going to buy our oranges. That didn't materialize. So if we get any company to come and assist us, we will be fine. We are indeed happy that we are seeing another factory springing up here. Luckily, a new citrus processing factory is being born in the district. The site has been cleared and machines for the construction of the factory are being moved to the site. Director of Operations at the Ekumfi Fruit and Juices Factory, Frederick Kobnakwa, says the factory has come at an opportune time when farmers in the district and other adjoining ones are distraught and have resorted to cutting down hundreds of acres of their citrus farms for want of markets.
We know Abrasibu-Kwamankesi to be a leader in citrus growing. So here we have lime, we have oranges, we have tangerines, we have all of that form the citrus factory family. They do very well here, and this for ages has been the base for citrus. So once we needed to set up a citrus oil factory, it was important to come into an area like this. Because we hear that for some time now, citrus has issues, and then you go into the farming communities and most of them are cutting down or hewing down their citrus trees for other crops.
Frederick Akwa intimates the strategic partnership between Ekumfi Fruit and Juices Factory and the new factory affords both factories the leverage to mutually benefit from each other in the usage of raw materials.
So it was important to form such a strategic arrangement with a processor of juice, because Central Citrus has a focus of processing citrus oil, and that's the oil we get at the back or in the peels of the citrus. So, I mean, we put one and one together and said, okay, so if we can form this partnership, at least we can benefit from the pulp, where we can do our extraction of the juice to go and mix our pineapple to do our third variant, and that is why we are here. So,
Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Coastal Development Authority, Ekumfi Factory, says supporting the building of the factory means a lot to the farmers in the district. He says stopping farmers from cutting down their citrus trees, seeing the income levels of farmers go up, and creating employment for the teeming youth in the area is exciting to the Coastal Development Authority.
Look down there. That is not a forest. That is an orange farm, 4-acre orange farm, abandoned for the past 7 years. When you look at it, you won't see any orange tree, but if I take you closer, you see it belongs to the Abusia Penyin here. He hasn't been here for the past 7 years. When we go down there, there are thousands of acres of citrus, ranging from lime, lemon, and oranges, completely abandoned. So we are happy because our fathers will connect to their farm, connect to their packets, and they will be able to take care of us, the children's education.
Ekumfi Factory is convinced the region would be lifted out of poverty gradually with such projects coming up. The factory, when completed, will also support the Ekumfi Fruit and Juices Factory with raw materials for their pineapple citrus mixed fruit juice. Richard Kwejunyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
And I'm Sandra Esinamapeno. On the marketplace, the Ministry of Science and Environment has provided vehicles and boats for the small-scale mining task force in a renewed fight against alluvial mining. The move is geared towards saving water bodies from further pollution. The Environmental Protection Agency will offer technical assistance to execute the project. The small-scale mining task force had been for the past 5 years been fighting against mining on river bodies. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
Over 200 Shamfan boats were destroyed by the task force in July, but many more float on River Ofin. Recalcitrant dredgers sink their boats in an attempt to hide them. Even though the task force detects them, they are unable to pull them out. Leader of the task force, Brisi Ando, explains why.
You can see this boat. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to somebody, and we just went and begged the person so that he will give us the boat. Without boat, you cannot work on this river. And you see, the river is very full. So as we are working now, we plead to the government that they should also come to our aid so that they will help us with vehicles so that we can also come every day and work.
The narrative today has changed. With new boats and safety jackets, team members have the means to bring up the boats. Now, a drone, one of the equipment presented by the Professor Frimpong Boatin-led ministry, is deployed for recce ahead of the team. Through this, exact areas of target are detected for the team to move in. Mr. Ando is optimistic the aim to rid river bodies of alluvial miners will be achieved.
They have given us new boats, new pickups, and life jackets. So the places that first we cannot go, now we can go there. So in fact, the work is progressing, and we are happy that now things have changed.
Meanwhile, the Small Scale Miners Association has committed to invest more in the exercise. Mike Gizo is a member of the association.
Already we have some divers, but we have trained some people to operate the outboard motors as well. So we don't have to chase these dredges on the ground because it has to do with two compartments. We move on the ground to chase them on the river bodies, which was extremely difficult and also impossible. With the giving of boats from the Ministry of Environment, what is different now is that we just chase them right on the river bodies. We don't have to be patrolling the riverbeds. We just move on the river bodies, and even our appearance itself is a deterrent to them.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
You're still watching The Marketplace. We are back with more after this break. Welcome back to the marketplace. In more stories this afternoon, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, GREDA, has called for a swift passage of the Construction Industry Development Authority Bill. The bill has been at the consideration stage in Parliament since 2018, according to the Chief Executive Director of GREDA, Samuel Amebo. The bill, when passed, will regularize the activities of the industry.
But because there's no apex, supervisory body, the individual associations and the business associations are doing their best to work with their membership. And as you may be aware, the Constitution makes it clear that there's no compulsory association membership, except that there's a need for a council. And you realize also that councils can manage the affairs of professionals, but it is not easy for them to work with businesses, and so there's that difficulty on how to get everybody on board. So the industry will need a regulator. It will need a regulator for so many reasons. A few people are arguing that it is going to increase bureaucracies in the way we do businesses, but I beg to differ, because if you realize that if there is sanity anywhere, and there's orderliness, there's so many things that you benefit from it. And one typical example, that 4 major benefits that I personally think that a regulator will bring to the construction industry would be to safeguard the interests of would-be owners who are interested in acquiring any form of infrastructure. So where I belong to the sector, housing sector, for example, if there is a regulator, it protect the interests of homeowners in particular. Then it also assists in transparency. When we all know what goes into the industry, who plays what, whose responsibility is what, when you have even a grievance, you know somewhere you can go and seek redress from. It brings some kind of transparency. And then when there's transparency and there's that protection of interest, then you can talk about attracting investment into the sector as well. So that when people want to put their money into the sector, they are informed and are guided by the principles that pertain in that industry. And so when they are putting in any kind of investment, the confidence level is higher.
Now, ever thought of the possibility of bringing in goods from Nigeria, Ethiopia, or even South Africa without paying import duty? This and more are the packages the Continental Free Trade Agreement area presents. In this report, Charles Ait takes us through the prospects and fears of the Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Africa is open for business. The very words of President Akufo-Addo as he handed over the office complex of the Africa Continental Free Trade Secretariat to the AU Commission.
The coming into being of the African Continental Free Trade Area is one of the most important decisions taken by the AU. When you consider the fact that trade between African countries remains low, currently standing at some 16% of our combined GDP, compared to other parts of the world, like the European Union 75%, it is obvious that these very low levels of intra-regional trade constitute one of the defining characteristics of our continuing poverty. They hinder our prospects of bringing prosperity to our peoples. A large part of the growth and prosperity that we seek on the continent will come from us trading more amongst ourselves.
This iconic moment is a product of the vote of confidence in Ghana to host the secretariat of what is expected to be the world's largest single market zone. With $3 trillion in annual GDP, this never came at a better time.
Indeed, as part of the hosting agreement, Ghana was requested by the Assembly to work with the AU Commission to ensure an expeditious and efficient process of establishing a permanent secretariat for the AFCFTA in Accra. Ghana has fully discharged all her obligations and commitments agreed with the AU Commission. And we are today handing over a fully furnished and befitting office space in a secured and easily accessible location within the business center of Accra.
He is the man to steer the affairs of the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. Wamkele Mene has a task ahead of him to forge intra-African trade from the woeful 13% to a promising 33% or more.
We will mobilize multilateral development finance institutions in Africa in order to ensure that we mobilize resources for targeted soft infrastructure for the facilitation of our trade. Whether it is in the form of one border posts, facilitation of ease of transit of goods, all of those infrastructure-related activities, we will support and complement the efforts at sub-regional and at national level. It's very important that we do that. In terms of the ratifications, there are 26 countries that have not yet ratified. As you are aware, ratification is a national process. It is determined by a country's national laws or a constitution. And so we have to, whilst we are conscious of the importance of rapidly moving towards ratification, at the same time we have to balance that with the need to respect national processes.
Former UK Cabinet Minister Paul Yeboahten says the success of the Continental Free Trade Agreement area will be based on reforms and strategies that will make the continent attractive to investors.
Yes, the pandemic is a crisis. The world is in recession. Africa will not be and is not immune from either the pandemic or the global recession. But a crisis is both a challenge and an opportunity. And the pandemic in its way creates a unique opportunity, not least for small and medium-sized enterprises. So we have to make sure that there is startup capital for them, that there's a transparent and reliable regulatory environment that facilitates entrepreneurship and encourages investors.
Even as the Continental Free Trade Agreement opens up for the free movement of goods and services, the emergence of a burgeoning entrepreneurial space questions Africa's preparedness to support SMEs to expand to meet global competition. Already, they are concerned over the high cost of lending. Ebenezer Onyegu is the Managing Director and CEO at Zenith Bank PLC.
The issue of access to credits is being addressed. If the moment we have the African Continental Free Trade Zone, I expect them to draw up a framework that should guide various countries on the institutional support and framework required to give flesh and life to their initiatives. They also need institutional support and framework from the different countries. We need to have some reforms that will support the initiative they will come up with. Then, of course, they need the support of the private sector and the public sector altogether. We need to see it as a completely African project. We need to see it as a project that will help us rejuvenate the African enterprise, the way we conduct ourselves, and let's achieve economies of scale.
But there remains a challenge. Programs Manager of the Third World Network Africa, Sylvester Baguro, fears the Africa Single Market Initiative may not have a smooth takeoff as expected. He worries over the rules of origin not well streamlined.
Even look at what they call the protocols on goods. That means you are trading goods across Africa. We have what we call the rules of origin. That is the passport of the product. What product can actually qualify as a Ghanaian or African product is one. Number two, how the selection is done in terms of the goods. And so I want to explain this so that it will be clear. First of all, in terms of the selection of the products, that is where the president talked about the agriculture and all that. We have 90%, 70%, and 3%. And let me explain. The 90% means that all products that are coming from the rest of Africa who are party to the agreement will enter duty-free, quota-free. It means that we are not going to charge duties on them. When they come to the port, they just come in like that. They will be treated as Ghanaian products.
And that's your Marketplace this afternoon. My name is Sandra S. and I'm Apenu. There's always news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. I'm back at 5 p.m. with Business Live, and keep watching Joy News. Thanks so much for watching and have a great afternoon.